All right, making this an isosceles triangle, we started with 2 points. First step is to find the midpoint of these 2 points. So I want to find the averages of the x's and the averages of the y's. So basically that's 8 plus 2, negative 2 over 2, and that's 3 plus 6 over 2. Okay? By finding these averages, what I'm doing is I'm saying I'm going to take halfway between here, and they're going to meet right there at the center. So that is my midpoint. Okay? So I've got the midpoint is going to be 6 over 2 and 9 over 2. Okay? So in that case, what I'm looking at is 3 and 4.5. And that's my midpoint. Not a fun one, but it's a midpoint. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out the slope that we're at. Because in order to graph my isosceles triangle, I need to go through the midpoint at exactly a 90-degree angle, which means I have to be perpendicular. To know perpendicular, I have to know this slope. So we're back to flip it and smack it. So you take these, right? This one, and it's gonna be flipped where y is on top. 3 over 8, 6 over negative 2, and then smack it. Smack, smack, run. So that's my slope of the original line. Okay? So I've got 3 minus 6 is minus 3, and I got 8 minus minus 2, which is 10. Okay? So now my slope is equal to negative 3 over 10. So my perpendicular slope will equal 10 over 3. And this is the one I'm looking for. Because I need that slope to go through this midpoint. Remember, this midpoint was 3 and 4.5, and you always kind of double check it. Is it at about 3? Is it at about 4.5? 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So, so that's kind of, we were guesstimating, and that was a little bit more right than we wanted, and that's more like it right there. So that's kind of where we're going right there, is right through that point, 3 and 4.5. So now what we want to do is go through that point perpendicularly. So we know what our perpendicular slope is. We just got to find the equation of that line. And to find the equation of a line, we use our base equation. Y equals mx plus b. Okay? And I have to use, this is where we can go wrong, we have to use the right points, and we have to use the right slope. The right slope is the perpendicular slope. So I know that that's 10 over 3. Okay? Now I need y and x. So I need to grab the point that I'm going through. The point I'm going through is that midpoint. Okay? So at that y and x, y is 4.5. And I'm going to write this as 9 over 2 because I like the math better when we're doing fractions. It'll come out nicer. So 3 plus b. Okay? So now I've got 9 over 2 equals 30 over 3 plus b. And so now I just have to subtract these. But before I subtract them, maybe I should make them the same denominator. So by doing that, I find, well, what does 2 and 3 both go into? 6. So how do I get to 6? I'm going to multiply 2 by 3. When I do the bottom, I do the top. I'm just multiplying it by a factor of 1. Not changing anything. I'm not changing anything. I'm just making it look different. So that's going to be 27 over 6 is equal to, and then this one to get over 6, because I know where I'm going, I just got to get there, right? So I got to get to 6. That's going to be a 2, and that's going to be a 2. So that's a factor of 1. So now 2 times 30 is 60. So 60 over 6 is the same as 30 over 3, which is the same as 10, right? So now I got plus b, okay? And I'm going to subtract 60 over 6, subtract 60 over 6. So I'm subtracting 60 from 27, okay? So that's going to leave me with negative 33. Negative 33 over 6 is equal to b, okay? So therefore, y is equal to 10 over 3 x minus 33 over 6. Now, that's going to be where this crosses the y-intercept. So 6 goes into 33 how many times? A little more than 5, right? 5.5 times. So this line should come down to 5.5. So we're at 5.5. That's about right here. Okay? So that's a little bit better picture of it. Okay? Negative 5.5. Right? So what's the best point I can think of? Well, the best point to make my isosceles triangle that I can think of is the one I already have right there. That point is 0 in the x direction and negative 33 over 6 in the y direction. And that is the point to make my isosceles triangle. In other words, this triangle will have equal sides. This one may not be equal to it. Later, or actually right now, you should be able to do an equilateral triangle, but that takes into effect that you know the distance here, so you can figure out the distance here with that distance formula we talked about in the first chapter. So once I know this distance, I know this distance. Or I could just find this distance using the distance formula, right? This and MP. You find that distance, right? You times it by 2, right? And then you use it to find this point off the thing, but this has to be a 60-degree angle. So now you go to using that triangle trig that we talked about, where this is your right angle, this is 1/2 of this, but you know what this is because you can find the distance of this, so you know what this is. That'll tell you what this is, and if you know what this point is and this point is, then by using your triangle trig, you should be able to find this point pretty simply on the